Well, good day to you. It is January the 27th, and I hope wherever you are, whenever you happen to be hearing this video, I hope you're having a wonderful day. My name is Gary Willing, and I want to welcome you to Search for Signs if you're new, and if you've been here before, I not only want to thank you for coming back, those people who have been joining the discussion, I want to thank you too, but I also want to welcome you back as well. But if you want to know more about Maitreya and the Masters of Wisdom, even if you've heard these videos before, look into it, educate yourself better about it, and then and only then can you really see if there's any truth to it. I mean, you can check out as many videos that I put up as you like. I mean, obviously you're welcome to do that, but you're only getting it from me. So branch out. Look at some of the other websites that I put in the description portion of these videos. So you can read more about Maitreya, about his priorities, and you kind of put two and two together and see if there's anything to it. So that's why I did it. But if you want to join the discussion, post comments, post your question in the comments section. I usually address comments that pertain to what we talk about or can add to the discussion in the next video. I always try to answer questions in the next video. You can email me at searchforsigns@mail.com if that's what you'd rather do than asking your question in public kind of thing, or you can reach out to me through Facebook. And a lot of people have been sending me links to either news articles or videos that talk about this information in some way, and I have been starting to post those articles and things that pertain to this information on my Facebook page. So you can learn more about this information that way. And I want to thank those people who have been doing it. But Zach Laney, I always like to give you a shout out because you like to join in the discussion, and I really do appreciate you doing that. The first Thomas is Thomas Otto, and the second Thomas is Thomas Lynch. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining the discussion, because if it wasn't for you, I'd have literally nothing to say in this video. So I'd be probably watching videos myself. Not my own videos, some other videos and some other YouTube channels. So thank you very much for that. It gets me off the sofa, as they say, although I'm sitting on the sofa doing the video, but, proverbially getting me off the sofa and doing something about this. So anyway, but thank you very much. Now, Zach Laney, you said something I want to touch on here and look at. You said, I say he'll come out openly sometime in the next 9 years. Sounds like after the day of the declaration, he steps back and let humanity step up his reticence, as you say. Well, that could be what he meant. Now, first of all, I didn't say that. So I don't normally use that word reticence in general conversation. That's coming from Benjamin Creme's Masters article. So I want to read what you're talking about in just a second. But for those people who are not aware of what he means when you don't know what Zach means by the day of declaration, I just want to say this. Right at this moment in time, Maitreya is speaking to humanity through our media. And he's going around the world talking to different peoples and different nations and so forth. And he's been doing this ever since he first gave his television interview on American television in 2010. But he's not claiming to be Maitreya. So most people don't know who is speaking to them when he's speaking to them. So he has a way of speaking and getting his ideas out there and his priorities out there without really gaining a lot of attention in that way, because he wants you to listen to what he has to say in honesty and be honest with yourself. Like he said, simple honesty. So you don't, listen to it with prejudice, thinking, well, this is Maitreya saying this. Maybe I should do this, or we should do this. You can honestly say, yes, I agree with this, or no, I do not agree with this. So that kind of thing. But this time in human history when the world teacher is not claiming to be Maitreya, but yet speaking to humanity, is not permanent. There will come a time where he will say who he is. But up until that point, according to Benjamin Creme, when asked, and he has been asked before by people in the Asian community of London, and I'm sure now that he's out in the open, were you the one that Benjamin Creme was talking about? That he will neither confirm it nor deny it. So anybody that denies that they are Maitreya is not Maitreya, right? Anybody that says they are Maitreya is not Maitreya. So that's just kind of a little cheat sheet for everybody. But that is the reticence in which I'm thinking he's talking about, because it is confusing people, especially people who have known this information for so long. They don't know what to make of it. They perhaps are thinking that maybe there wasn't anything to what Benjamin Creme was saying. Now, you don't know me. I'm just a voice on YouTube talking to you, so you can believe this or not, but I've met Maitreya like so many other people have, and I know he's real. I know what he means for humanity. I know the love that he has for humanity. I know, and through me studying this information, like I encourage everybody else to do, I've gotten familiar with the priorities of Maitreya to some point, and it's something that I agree with also, that I want for humanity. That's why I put these videos up in this way. So will it be 9 years? I hope not. I don't think that's very likely, I guess, but, it's taken a lot longer than even I thought it would be for these changes to take place. But that's not because of Maitreya, that's because of humanity. We're not responding to what he's saying enough to where he can start talking more, Any teacher will tell you, you really can't give out new information until what they initially said, and tried to teach you is applied. Right now we're not applying anything yet. We're still living very divided lives. We're in a very divided world, those kind of things. So he's doing what he can, but, we got to do more, I guess, is my point, before he'll start to kind of add a little bit more sense of urgency, I guess, to what he's saying. So that's the other thing too, because in the article that you were referring to, he put it like this: when you see Maitreya, do not be confused by his initial reticence. He must earn the trust of those he would aid. In due course, he will speak, as speak he must, to awaken the conscience of men. So the other thing too is he's concerned that if he comes out too strong, too fast, that those people who he's trying to help will be afraid of who he is and what he's saying. It'd be too much, to take in. So he's just giving a little bit and then wait and see, give another little bit, but he's not stopping, Now to also what he was saying about, what you were saying about, you think it would be 9 years. Maitreya said to me one time, he said, "You'll see me on TV real soon, and we're going to change the world together." So that's something that I always think about when it comes to, it's not yet, but soon, And what is he going to do? He's going to inspire all of us to do it together. So we're going to do it, it's not just him, Now, the Day of Declaration also, too, I just want to say this before I address and answer Thomas Otto's question. What that is there will come a time when there will be enough interest in what Maitreya is talking about, who this person is, those kind of things. There'll be people probably who will be thinking it is Maitreya, that we will demand from our media, we'll say, we want him to speak to all of us at one time. I don't know how it's going to look, but the corrupt corporate media that we have will eventually agree to allow him to speak. And it's been said that the news satellites that are in space, the communication satellites and those kind of things, have been put in place, and they were inspired to be put there by the masters for this one event. And Maitreya will step up to the podium. All the news channels will be, kind of on a simultaneous feed, right? And when he's about to say something, he won't say anything out loud. We'll hear it inwardly in our own head. He will overshadow humanity at one time. Now, not everybody's going to hear him, just everybody above the age of 14. But it won't matter where you are, who you are, how much money you have in your bank account, what your religious background is, you will hear what he has to say in your own head. And it will be in the language that you're most familiar with. So there will be no misinterpretation based on language. It's also been said that he'll give a vision to every one of us at one time. We'll see what he sees. We'll feel what he's feeling when he looks into the future and humanity doesn't change his ways and we end life on this planet. We'll feel it all together. So even the most bigoted, self-centered people will feel what it feels like to lose their only planetary home. And then he'll also give us glimpses and visions of the future if we do change our ways and accept the principle of sharing, bring about justice, bring about peace, and what that means for humanity. As Benjamin Creme's master once put it, it's the promise of revealed divinity. What does that actually mean? Well, it's going to take us to the very edges of this galaxy is what it means. But up until that point, we will start to see ourselves as one family. There'll be no more hunger left. Nobody will go hungry ever again once the principle of sharing starts, ever. The joy that will come from that. It will be an explosion. It will be a spiritual explosion, the greatest spiritual explosion according to the Spanish poet Federico Lorca. When hunger is finally cured on this planet. We'll see what that's like. We'll see what peace is truly like, even in our own lifetimes. What we can do together to change and improve upon life on planet Earth once we work together to do it. That is, I think, what awaits us if we accept the principle of sharing. So I don't think he's going to step back and let us just try to do it. It's going to be the opposite. He's going to start introducing these masters one by one by one. The Master Jesus, the Master who was Peter, the Master who was Paul, the Master who was John. And more and more of these masters will start to take posts in the world and gather groups of people to into action in that way, and will be inspiring and galvanizing humanity in whatever field or endeavor that they're working in to change life on planet Earth for all of us, and make life better. That's what I think he's talking about. So anyway, thank you very much for the comment. Now, Thomas, I think it was the first Thomas Otto. How about sharing all the wealth of the world? We're talking about sharing just for the basic needs of all men and women. But can there be justice when there are about 1% super rich and millions of have-nots everywhere around the world? It's actually billions, believe it or not. For the new age, we need completely new systems, political and economic, to create real democracy, participation, and much more equality in mind, my humble opinion. What do you think, Gary? Well, I think you're onto something, Thomas, and I'm glad you're thinking about it, for one thing. That's my first initial thought. So, we can have a dialogue about it, I guess. So it's not my view or your view, right? So, this is, I'm glad you're thinking about it. This is why I like putting these videos up, is to get us to think about these things. But, the principle of sharing, according to Maitreya, is the only thing that will bring about justice, bring about peace, and give us a future. And I've explained it kind of like this. It's nations every nation has an excess, according to the masters. Every nation has needs of some kind that another nation has excesses that they're holding. Whether it's a tiny little bit of excesses for tiny poor nations, or great large excesses like China, Russia, the United States, some Western European nations, and those kind of things. And they're sitting on it, and they're just hoarding it because of competition, distrust, greed, perhaps, and those kind of things. And until humanity learns to just give some of the excess to some of the other nations, we'll never have justice in this world, which will never give us peace, and will eventually never, if we don't do the principle of sharing, won't give us a future, really. But if, looking at the super rich, for instance, like you were referring to, if they simply just gave all their wealth away, that in and of itself would not bring about justice and bring about peace. It'd be wonderful to see, but it's not anything that would bring about that. It has to be the nations doing it. Now, the other thing, too, is that nothing will be imposed upon anybody by these masters. They never, ever infringe upon someone's free will. They consider it sacred. They said sacrosanct, which is sacred. That's what human free will is to them. So they'll never infringe upon anybody's free will. Even the super rich that are hoarding all their wealth, they have to give up their wealth freely. I would say that even nations would have to give up their wealth and their excesses freely. It won't be imposed by an outside authority like these masters in any way. But on the day of declaration, let's get back to this, when we see what will happen to all of us, when we feel it as Maitreya feels it, if we don't accept the principle of sharing, we see all the history, all the artifacts, all the dreams of the future gone if we do not work together as one family and accept the principle of sharing. What that will feel, we'll feel it. So even the most greedy, corrupt person will feel it in the way that Maitreya feels it. There will be no miscommunication. There won't be, okay, whatever. We'll see it from that standpoint. It will be a shock for most people. So there'll probably be some super, why am I accumulating all this wealth? What does it mean that I'm doing? I'm just doing it out of reaction to competition, right? And so there'll probably be a lot of super rich people that will react in the way, I don't need $50 billion. I wasn't even going to give it to my kids because my kids are greedy too. So I'm just going to, because I taught them through my own example to be a greedy person, right? So why would they not be greedy, right? But, maybe I can get by with 1 or 2 billion or $100 million. I don't know. I'm just throwing this out there. And there might be others that, nope, I'm not going to do it. This is the way I want my life. I love having a villa in south of France, and I can go there in the summertime, and in the wintertime I can spend all my times at my beach house in Maui or whatever, right? And that's what they want, but nothing's going to be imposed on them to do it. But there are also people out there, and it's not just the super rich too, but there are also people out there that give when they have absolutely nothing to give. They find some way to still give. And Maitreya will be inspiring even them to give, because that's really the hope for humanity, is that I don't care about myself as much as I care about you. And there are examples of people who do that all the time that you will never see in the news, because they're the everyday people like you, other people like that. So we'll be inspired to give more, and those kind of things, because we'll see what it's like to work together as a family. But the historical evidence that the principle of sharing will bring about justice and bring about peace is the Marshall Plan. And we probably heard that before in our history class, or AP history or whatever, but what is it, or what was it? And it happened right after World War II. The United States saw that if we did not help out Western Europe, it could have gone back into a Third World War, and probably would have, because it was in shambles. It was devastated. So we gave lumber, wood, steel, whatever they needed to build their roads and their bridges and their factories back up, the power plants back up, to get things up and running. They gave it freely to them. It was the only time that principle of sharing ever took place, according to the masters. And then once Europe got their act together, stabilized everything, they gave excesses back. And it created an economic boom here in the United States. But the evidence of what the teacher is saying is true, without sharing there will be no justice. Without justice there will be no peace. Without peace there will be no future. The historical evidence of that is, if you look at the nations that participated in it, you go to Wikipedia and check them out. Look at the whole list of those nations. And then if you remember back to the history prior to the Marshall Plan, some of those nations were really at each other's throats, did not like each other, did not trust one another, attacked one another, were at war with one another at some point. But since then, it hasn't happened. They trust one another a little bit better. They're probably still competing in here or there, but for the most part, it's and the peoples of those nations, it's easier for them to go to those other nations that participated in the Marshall Plan than any other nations on the planet. It doesn't mean that the United States hasn't attacked another nation since then. They just have not attacked those nations that participated in the Marshall Plan. So I always like to throw this out there as a thought. If that created peace, goodwill amongst those nations, and it only took 4 years, 70 years ago, for that to be accomplished, what would have happened if right after World War II, the principle of sharing would have been global and it would have been ongoing? What world would we be living in today? We would have never had a 9/11. We would not be living in this divided world that we're living in. We would not have had millions upon millions upon millions of people dying of hunger every day. We would be living in a peaceful world. We would already be experiencing revealed divinity. It wouldn't even be a promise of revealed divinity. We would be experiencing it at this moment in time. So, but that's the future that awaits humanity if we just do the principle of sharing. So it's not basic needs and that's it. And it's kind of like, ugh, just the drudgery of communism. It's not that. It's just giving everybody a chance to, you don't have to worry about, if you lose your job, getting kicked out into the street. You don't have to worry about, if you get sick, that you have to work and you can't go to the doctor and get health care because you can't afford it. It doesn't mean that. As a possibility for humanity, if we accept the principle of sharing, that we can take care of ourselves and our health. But it also means that we don't have to kill ourselves trying to work to make ends meet. We can discover what it means to be a soul, what it means to be you, what it means to be a divine being like Thomas Otto. That's what it means, for whatever it means for you. It's something different for other people, right? But you can't do that when you're working day in and day out to make ends meet, and that's all you're worried about, and that's all you care about because that's the only way to live, or you're dying of hunger every day, or you have to walk 20 miles to find clean drinking water because there's no clean drinking water everywhere, or whatever. You can't do that. You have to have the ability to be able to sit, relax, enjoy life, have leisure, be creative, and that's only going to come when justice is achieved and when everybody's needs are met. But there's enough of resources everywhere, Thomas, to where, and I know you know this, but this is just for everybody else too. There's enough resources out there so that we don't have to have people dying of hunger every day. We don't. It's just simply a lack of will. But Maitreya says this, and I'll say this just to kind of plant a thought in your mind. He says he comes to comes to rid the world of the crime of separation. He says he affirms that as his purpose. So if you're listening to this and you want to know what to do, look at what you can do to help drive away the crime of separation and start to see ourselves more and more as one family. Affirm that as your purpose, and then you'll have the same purpose as Maitreya. People look at it as an ideological difference. It doesn't matter whether you're a Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, atheist, Wiccan, doesn't matter what your belief is. Beliefs just divide. We are all one family. We need to start seeing ourselves as that. Affirm that as your purpose too. I love you guys. Have a great day. I look forward to putting up videos in the future. You guys take care. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos. Thank you.